Hey, get it!
You on me for the Peckerwood. Peckerwood would kill me. Be like you kill me. You be putting that rope around my neck yourself. What you think you is, the hound dog? Peckerwood say go fetch, you fetch. You see me hang, you gonna know. You gonna know you kill a black fella. Cicero! Mayhaps I could have got away on beat for you catching me. You remember that. You remember that all day. You killed me. You remember that. You killed me. Niggas like you just prove what the Peckerwood say. We just beasts, willing to do anything, kill each other. No mind, no feeling.
Shut up, nigger.
Leastwise, I ain't gonna die like you gonna die, like a slave. I ain't giving no lifetime of misery and sweat to this Peckerwood. I'd rather die than be a slave. You Peckerwood, that's right. You Peckerwoods was oppressed in your own land. We was free, and you brought us here, in chains. Well, now we here, and you just better know, this is just as much our land as it is yours. And after you hang me, kiss my ass.
All right. All right. I'll make sure my sound is good here. All right. We're good. All right. Welcome once again to the beatzillapdx official show. I am the host, beatzillapdx officially. And today we are talking about Babylon's cup running over. There's a lot going on right now. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Let's see what we got here. Ayan Mayatbe, hey. Peace, Silent D, Desmond Works, Judah Queen, Queen Amadai Shakur in the house. Let me see. Viewer one. Greetings. All right, everybody. So, I think we all are very familiar about the players and the actors of this affair we call the American experience. And right now is a good time to get reacquainted with some of the factors that have kind of built us up to where we are today. With that being said, let's get right to it, shall we? And I'm sure many of you know who this woman is. This piece of work right here is Margaret Sanger. She is the founder of Planned Parenthood and a huge eugenicist. Today, we're going to be talking about eugenics and just seeing how things could possibly play, when you can control both sides of the board.
This is Margaret Slee, president of America's Planned Parenthood Federation, maintains that European women should stop having babies for the next 10 years.
Don't you think such a theory, such a radical theory, is antisocial?
On the contrary, it seems to me that it is more practical and humane.
What about the women who want babies now and in 10 years will not be able to have babies? Rather impractical, don't you think?
Oh, John, you do ask hard questions. I should think that instead of being impractical, it is really very practical and intelligent and humane.
But Mrs. Slee, in this country, having babies is the only thing left which is both unrationed and untaxed. Do you think we really ought to stop?
Well, I suppose a subject like that is really so personal that it's entirely up to the parents to decide. But from my view, I believe that there should be no more babies.
Well, how about that? No more babies. What y'all think about that? See, right off the rip, we are looking at something that now she was talking about European women. So, you already know what she felt about black women and black babies. So, you got to understand they were not just trying to get black and brown on board. They also were looking at poor white people. Bottom line. So, you could just kind of compare yesterday to today. One could kind of think. So I want to play a letter that's a good brother has read. And it's a letter from Margaret Sanger to the Gamble of Procter and Gamble, the medical company. So let me get this for you here. This is really interesting. Take a listen to this.
December 10th, 1939. Dr. C.J. Gamble, 255 Adams Street, Milton, Massachusetts. Dear Dr. Gamble, it's good to know that you are recovering. I also am stepping up and have felt much better the past week. Miss Delp was here for Thanksgiving, and I am more than delighted to learn that she was able to get $250 from the California Birth Control Organization, plus the $600 from the Federation. That's good. She is a go-getter and a live wire, very tactful and charming as well. I think that my pick of her has been justified, even though she is a little higher priced than the ordinary. She has been working on the article to be written by Miriam DeFord, Mrs. Maynard Shipley. They were good enough to send me a rough draft for comments and suggestions, and the important suggestion that I made was not to include Miss Delp's actual name in the article, because of the fact that her sister is married to one of the high spots in the Farm Security Department, and if the enemy started to work on her name, they might make it difficult along the line.
You catch the word that she just used in that? Enemy? Enemy. So anybody that wasn't going along with this agenda was considered to be an enemy. I'm just comparing yesterday to today. I mean, Queen Amadai could attest to how censorship works on folks today. I'm just saying.
Otherwise, I think the article is good. As to my sending suggestions to the Federation, I think it is really unfair for me to do so. I am too far away to have the personal contact of the different reactions, and it only holds up any definite project to have the pros and cons battered about, which makes for more chaos and confusion. There is only one thing that I would like to be in touch with, and that is the Negro Project of the South, which, if the execution of the details remain in Miss Rose's hands, my suggestions will not be confusing because she knows the way my mind works. Miss Rose sent me a copy of your letter of December 5th, and I note that you doubt it worthwhile to employ a full-time Negro physician. It seems to me, from my experience, where I have been in North Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, and Texas, that while the colored Negroes have great respect for white doctors, they can get closer to their own members and more or less lay their cards on the table, which means their ignorance, superstitions, and doubts. They do not do this with the white people, and if we can train the Negro doctor at the clinic, he can go among them with enthusiasm and with knowledge, which I believe will have far-reaching results among the colored people. His work, in my opinion, should be entirely with the Negro profession and the nurses, hospital, social workers, as well as the county's white doctors. His success will depend upon his personality and his training by us. The minister's work is also important, and also he should be trained, perhaps by the Federation, as to our ideals and the goal that we hope to reach. We do not want word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population, and the minister is the man who can straighten out that idea if it ever occurs to any of their more rebellious members. I agree with you that Miss Rose has done a remarkable job in thinking through and planning the project, but she has worked on it for some time. As soon as I knew there was the possibility of getting any money, I put her at work drafting the plan for Mr. Lackner. She is excellent at just such a job. She hangs on to details, weaves, and correlates them into the design. I shall never cease to have the utmost admiration and regard for her ability, and so far I have not seen anyone in the Federation who could take her place. I am constantly delighted at the thought that you are getting better, and now we must pray for Mrs. Tim, who is seriously ill at the doctor's hospital in New York. My regards to your Sarah and to yourself. Sincerely yours, Margaret Sanger.
Hooey. Did y'all like my little collage? Did y'all like my little collage? Uh-oh. Give me a quick history lesson about the colored nurses and physicians associated here. Oh, wow. Really? Hey, Ashley. Ashley W., how are you doing, sister? It's absolutely an attack on your free speech. Silent D, absolutely. Absolutely. Lord, you know? So what y'all think about that? I mean, because all I did was played an old letter and just showed you the pictures that fit today. Seeing is believing. Can't make this stuff up. One who cares. Greetings, greetings. Welcome, welcome to the platform. One who cares. Welcome. We put this other banner up here too. So as you see, they have ways of getting to getting to means of control. Um, and you know, we know some of the common actors, and we know who some of the names are floated around today. Um, if you didn't know, one of the names they put out there, uh, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you for asking. Um, but the names that they you know that they have out there, like I showed you this picture. Let me go back to this picture here. Okay, so who do we see on the screen? Do we see any familiar faces, folks? You know, let me see who you see right there. There's a lot of money on the screen too. You got Richard Parsons, Bill Gates Sr., David Rockefeller, George Soros, Barbara Walters, Tom Brokaw, Ted Turner, Bill Moyer, Anthony Fauci. Hmm. So right there you have the money and the media all in one place. I wonder what those conversations are like. I mean, hey, man, one can just speculate and theorize, you know? Oh, man. Oh, they are extremely sneaky. So that's why, I'm just doing comparative journalism. We'll call it that. So before I get to today, let's get one more piece of yesterday, shall we? So this person, this man who's about to come on is one Mr. William Shockley, and he's in a debate with the great Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. So I want you to listen because he is actually a big part of Silicon Valley. So you got to know, peep these connections, and then I'm gonna start just showing you some charts, and we'll let the money do the talking.
Legitimate mass media outlets because many whites do not agree with her theory of genetics. Now let's find out what the controversy is about. Dr. Shockley, please give us the benefit basically of what your theory is.
My principal point, Mr. Brown, is not so much a theory of black-white differences, but is summed up in one word, which is the theme of my appearance on your program and my efforts, and the word is dysgenics. And dysgenics means effectively downbreeding, retrogressive evolution. And I fear that this is worst for the black community, and I particularly welcome an opportunity to appear on Black Journal just for these reasons. And let me say also...
Now, do you get the impression that this man is really concerned about our community? When they start talking like that, time for that antenna go up. All of a sudden, it's a concern about the health of our community. One way I know would be like, great. How about free health care insurance for every descendant of slave in this country? Free education. And if not in the traditional way, trade school. Funded by the government, because that's what's due. And also life insurance. Those are a few things that could be enacted right there. We have so many members in the Congressional Black Caucus, or should I say the Congressional Black Do Nothing Caucus, that could presented these arguments, but no, we are not that important to them.
So, that when I first met Dr. Welsing, it was not black students who were disrupting, but white students. And Dr. Welsing made a very sincere and I thought extremely effective effort, a well-planned effort. It was not effective with these white students at Staten Island Community College, so I would have a chance to speak. In fact, I think they prevented her from saying what she wanted to say when she was trying to gain me a platform. So my main theme is that we have problems that we should face and we should look at connected with dysgenics. And I welcome any opportunity I have to bring this out so that people can look at it and worry about it.
Dr. Shockley, you are accused of having a theory that is a white racist theory. How do you respond to that?
Well, I respond to that by saying that I've considered whether or not I am a racist. Racist is an epithet that used to damage my self-esteem, but it doesn't anymore. I feel it's untrue. If you look in the dictionary as to what racist means, it means emotional feelings, irrational feelings associated with fear and hate.
Say what now? Now, he said he had a self-esteem issue about being called a racist? Oh man! See, that was the quick trick. Did you catch the quick? Let me be a victim real quick. So before I get roasted, let me go ahead and throw myself on the sword real quick. Slick.
If I really had those, I don't think I would be here this evening. I feel that what I'm engaged in is a demand for diagnosis, and I'd like to say some more about this chart, which we'll come to probably later, which shows the disproportionate rates of reproduction for the least effective elements of the black community. I'd like to say more about that than we should in just this brief introduction. But I think there is another word that better describes what I'm involved in, and that word is raceology, which means a scientific analysis of racial differences. And basically I have a faith that reason is a good thing, and I feel as you do about the First Amendment, but maybe with a slightly different emphasis. I think the really important thing about the First Amendment is it is a way of guaranteeing a high likelihood that truth will emerge as a result of conflicting ideas being expressed, and I have a thesis and a basic belief that truth is a good thing and will be of benefit to man.
Thank you.
How's that working out for the black content creators right now who are speaking the truth? Can you say you're seeing that? No, not at all. Yeah, he's just making it up. And I mean, good grief. Yes, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, please, family. That would be greatly appreciated. Let's go back to this brother. He's always been solid too. This is 1974. Something else that I was looking into to go into what I was looking at today. Side note, check out the what is it called? Operation Paperclip. Because that's probably something that is not too far away from eugenics at its core.
Thank you. Dr. Frances Welsing, give us the benefit of your theory, please.
Well, my theory was, I wrote the paper in 1969. I wrote a paper called The Crest Theory of Color Confrontation and Racism. And the sole reason behind writing that paper was an attempt to understand the behavior of white people in relationship to all people of color, every place in the world, black, brown, red, and yellow people. And the paper was presented to the Americans at the National Medical Association, the section on psychiatry in neurology, because back in 1969, the Black Caucus in the American Psychiatric Association, we had said that racism, and when we talk about racism, we're talking about the white supremacy behavior of white people, that racism was the #1 mental health problem in the nation, and it was the #1 cause of other mental health problems. And I wanted to understand what this thing of racism really is all about, because it's the thing that has caused woe and misery and suffering for the vast majority of the people on this planet that are classified as non-white. And in my attempt to understand why the necessity of white people to keep saying that white is superior and that the condition of non-white is inferior, and the more I thought about it, in conjunction with an idea that a friend of mine had, that racism was a worldwide behavioral system for the maintenance of white supremacy by a small minority of people, I put those ideas together with what we know about genetics, what we know about the condition of skin whiteness itself. The condition of skin whiteness is the genetic inability to produce skin pigment called melanin. This is a genetic recessive trait. It is a genetic deficiency state, not as defined by Frances Welsing, but defined by geneticists and dermatologists, that the inability to produce the skin pigment of melanin or melanin pigment is described as albinism. And I think that white people, even though most white people are not consciously understanding their problem in genetics, they are certainly aware that they are genetically dominated by people of color. That's why it was a statement, one drop of black blood makes you black, because people of color have the genetic capacity to annihilate white people. And so unless white people control the reproductivity of people of color, then we can postulate that perhaps one day there won't be any white people. And I think that the very survival of white people necessitates that they project genetic inferiority on people of color, because it is they who really are aware that they are genetic recessive and perhaps genetically inferior to people of color. And I am not saying this to call the condition of skin whiteness to say, well, no, white people are inferior. I'm not saying it for that purpose, but I think that it is of prime importance for the majority of people in the world to understand why it is that white people have to, the effective majority, large numbers of white people, have to move in a hostile and an aggressive way against people of color, and have to constantly...
He is so shook. He is so shook. I mean, just the look on his face says it all. He don't know what to do. Because again, just like the whole thing that just happened with Deion Sanders yesterday and the reporter, just the whole era, that cockiness of, I am not going to show you the respect that you're actually due. I mean, we're talking about Deion Sanders. He's a champion. You got some young reporter who probably wasn't even alive when he got his first ring or had his first shoe deal. But, has to sit up here and let some punk call him by his first name when he earned the job and spot of coach. Yeah, that's like the dude who was, oh, I'm not going to call you. It's not important. Yeah, it is. You call me sir.
Focus on it's you who's genetically inferior because they realize that there's something wrong with their genetic status. Now,
may I take a call?
Oh, sure,
all
please.
Right. Let me, so that, because we have a number of calls, and we'll see what the public wants to find out also. Just 1 second.
Hello.
Hello. Go ahead, please. You're on Black Journal.
I would like to ask the question, why does the doctor feel that his theory, Dr. Shockley, why did you feel that your theory is correct?
Well, let me say that's a long question. Let me point out one aspect. It's a question that calls for a very long answer. I think I might just at this point say that in a time like 1 hour, we may expose a problem and encourage thinking about it, and this is a very valuable thing. But to cover either Dr. Welsing's views or mine, and let me say here are, just to show that these things exist, is a pamphlet that she was good enough to give me some time ago.
This one's upside down.
Well, that one's upside down.
Yeah,
thank you.
Right.
And this is one of my own. It's actually a collection of a debate.
The Imperatives of Ethnic Education is yours.
This is the issue of the journal. Mine was, the title of my paper is somewhat different from this, but I want to say that speaking for myself, if people would like to write to me at Stanford University, I have a post box there, Post Box S, which is the same as Shockley and Stanford. I will try to supply more information, and I'm sure Dr. Welsing will say what she can do about telling people how to reach her pamphlet. Okay. But now let me say this chart that I held up a moment ago is very important in respect to this question of why I think there may be what proves a basic difference. But I'm going to say that if there were not a basic difference in intellectual capacity in the past, there probably will be a basic difference between black and white intellectual capacity in the future simply because of the reproduction patterns. And these are Census Bureau data, and this is the most threatening aspect. And what it indicates is that for the black women of the lowest intellectual social class, which are rural farm women.
What is an intellectual social class? Anybody know what that is? Intellectual social class. Now, he's at Stanford. So what black women would he be actually interviewing? Other women at Stanford? Let's see, who went to Stanford? Oh, Condoleezza Rice. Condoleezza Rice went there. Dr. Rice, right? Wow. Richard Sherman, too, I believe. Yes, that's exactly what he's saying. He's just basically saying our queens are dumb.
Generally, the education is least. The average number of children is 5.4. For women with college degrees, it's 1.9. And so this is definitely unfavorable. It is reproducing far more at the bottom end and not enough to keep even at the top end.
Dr. Shockley, can
for whites, let me just finish this. For whites, the numbers are also in this direction, but nowhere nearly as severe.
Dr. Shockley, I think that in all fairness, you should explain to the audience why it is that you have, first of all, you have a very large segment of the black population who are on farms, who are deprived in cities. Why don't you explain at the time that you're showing this, who is keeping black people in a situation like they're in? I mean, it could be, you could turn it around the other way, where you could have very large numbers of black people who are exposed to educational opportunities like white people, who are exposed to housing, who are exposed to health facilities. Why don't you explain that at the same time that you put figures like that?
I'm sure you would explain it.
No, but I
Dr.
think
Welsing,
it's important
but
in
one must say first things first. And you've raised the basic question there, and that is whether the disadvantages are primarily a lack of opportunity or whether they are primarily a basic genetic difference. And let me mention one thing, which is that in certain areas there is no doubt about black superiority. Blacks are superior in visual acuity, and they're superior in a systematic way. Now, I don't expect that people will understand the details of this, but I simply want to show that quantitative work can be done. This happens to be a research job of my own, and what it shows, because these points that you see here lie on a line, which is not the central line, but they lie systematically on a line, what it says is that so far as visual acuity is concerned, blacks are systematically better than whites. It's as if their bell-shaped curve, their distribution curve, were pushed upwards compared to whites for visual acuity, or at least for the avoidance of bad eyesight,
Now
such that if the same shift occurred for IQ, it would mean that the average IQ distribution would be up by 9 points rather than down by about 15 points, which is the typical average.
Dr. Shockley, visual acuity is probably something that the system of white supremacy has not necessarily seen the need to affect the environment that black people are in so that it will alter the fact that they have visual acuity that is superior to whites. The fact of visual acuity is not attacked in the same way as educational opportunity and job performance is attacked. And I think that
it's evidence for a genetic difference, in my
you see what I'm saying? There might be many, many more genetic differences where people of color appear superior.
If I may, we have a number of people, and we'd like to get to as many as possible. If you could make your answers, not to compromise your explanation, but if you could make your answers as succinct, I would appreciate it, because we would like to involve the public as much as we can. One moment, please. You're on Black Journal. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I was wondering if Dr. Shockley could explain the basic difference between the course he is taking in explaining white supremacy and the course that Hitler took during the Nazism reign.
Thank you.
Well, there are enormous differences. In fact, the lesson to be learned from Nazi history is frequently very misunderstood, and it is a lesson which Mr. Brown has told us about earlier. It's the First Amendment. It's not that eugenics is intolerable. Actually, the eugenic programs, which are the opposite of dysgenics, eugenic programs are not inconceivable, they're not inhumane. Denmark has been carrying out programs with strong eugenic implications for maybe 30 years. And it's important to note that since World War II, Denmark's per capita homicide rate dropped and is now approximately 1/20th. That is, the number of deaths of probability of being killed in a year by a violent homicide is roughly, the order of 100 times less for young Danes than it is for young American blacks. Now, but the lesson, let me say what the lesson of Nazi history we have in this country, and it will protect us. It's just the thing that makes this program possible. The First Amendment, which allows freedom of speech. If one believes that is not the right answer, then one has to be one of the most anti-German racists there can be. If one believes that the German people would have tolerated the concentration camps and the gas chambers, if news media, like the programs that Mr. Brown is setting on, if those people were willing to bring discordant views out into the open, I don't believe the concentration camps and the gas chambers could have continued to exist in Germany.
I'd like to comment, because I'd like to say that I don't think that there's a major difference between what Dr. Shockley is doing. I don't think that Dr. Shockley is fully aware of what he is doing and why he is doing what he's doing. But the long-range implications of what he is doing are no different than the propaganda campaign that Hitler and his Nazi unit carried on in Germany that ended up eliminating 6 million Jewish people. Now, what is most interesting is that Hitler said the very same thing. He said, number one, that the Jews were genetically inferior to the Aryans. Number two, he was aware that the Semites had genetically dominant genetic material to the Aryans. And if we begin to understand the way that people who were in Europe at the time that the Semites arrived from Africa, when the Semites arrived in Europe from Africa, they were people who had substantial amounts of color and who had very kinky hair because they were from the continent of Africa. And the Europeans, the white people who were there, had a reaction, a color reaction to the Semites that is no different than the reaction and the concern on the part of people who are white in this area of the world or any other area of the world to people who have the genetic capacity to produce color, who can genetically annihilate their position. And I think it's very, very important. Even though Dr. Shockley, I am convinced that Dr. Shockley believes that he is perhaps elevating science with all of his charts and all of his figures, but he doesn't understand the things that propel him as a white individual in a social system that has programmed him throughout his life and programmed large numbers of people like him to focus on the genetics of people of color in such a way as to destroy people of color.
I would like to ask a question, and Dr. Shockley, if you could answer it yes or no, I would appreciate it. Do you believe that black people are...
This is a good question.
...inferior in intelligence because of their heredity?
I have a standard statement. It is not yes or no. It's memorized. I say at the same time every time, I think. What I say is this. My research leads me, and it's a tragic conclusion, really. My research leads me inescapably to the opinion that the major cause of the American Negro's intellectual and social deficits is hereditary and racially genetic in origin, and thus not remediable to a major degree by practical improvements in environment.
All right. If you believe that the position relatively of black Americans to white Americans is based on a genetic inferiority, and I will accept the responsibility for that word, then what do you see as the solution to the problem?
Well, I see the first aspect of this is to prevent the problem from becoming worse by dysgenics. This first word that
Would you
I
translate
mentioned,
dysgenics for me and the audience?
Would
that be sterilization?
No. Dysgenics, you see, means what that other chart I showed you says.
Should blacks,
that the least effective element.
Should blacks be sterilized?
Fancy word.
No, I have a...
but if blacks are a problem and we do not allow...
This is inhumane. And
Dr.
I think
Shockley
one can
wants
find
black
more
people
humane
to
solutions to this.
Well, then how would... Then
I would propose something in which one of the key phrases is regardless of sex, race, or welfare status. And this is the proposal. I call it a thinking exercise. It's mentioned in that pamphlet that I showed that you can obtain. And it goes this way, that you would offer a bonus to everyone to be sterilized. Now, we know we have a population explosion problem. We know that in India that bonuses in the form of transistor radios are offered to people.
Would this bonus be directed to black people specifically, more than whites?
Mr. Brown, what did I say just a moment ago? I said, regardless of sex, race, or welfare status.
Now, there is a group...
That's what I say.
There is a group of white people to whom this offer should be made also.
Absolutely. Now, the offer is based upon the best estimates, best scientific estimates that one can have of any genetically carried disabilities. Now, there are some, I think, that any humane person would have no doubt about. And Dr. Welsing talked about dominant and recessive genes. I want to point out that sometimes a dominant gene can be a very bad thing, and it is a very bad thing for a neurological disease called Huntington's chorea, which is something like multiple sclerosis.
Which is more prominent in white people than black people.
That is correct. And I think that one should offer a large bonus for anyone who might be potentially carrying Huntington's chorea.
Dr. Shockley,
beyond this, it goes on with some other factors in this, but Dr. Welsing wishes to speak.
Are you aware that white people have more genetic diseases that affect their nervous system than people of color, than black people?
I wouldn't be at all surprised. And I think blacks apparently have higher heart problems.
Would you suggest that all of these white people who are carrying these defective genes, you know, whose families may carry these defective genes, that they be examined and it would be suggested to them that they be sterilized? Would you suggest this?
Yes, I think I would, probably, in general.
Go ahead, your Black Journal, please.
What we know about ancient black civilization.
That's pretty much what I wanted to get to there. And so you can see this is not an old agenda at all. Matter of fact, like I said, this man was dealing with Bill Gates Sr. and Margaret Sanger. So the whole eugenics movement and the depopulation movement, we've already heard these other names thrown out there as of recent. And so let me pull something up here. Share screen. So, understanding how money works. Let's take a look. Because, you know, you can get a lot of influence. Okay, I have to do it again. All right. There we go. Come on into focus there. All right. Can y'all see that? Okay. Yes, you can. So what you're seeing right now is the history of one Bill Gates Sr. And also his son as well. So you can see how, you know, how things kind of progressed. Are you guys seeing this on the screen? You dig? So check that out. Their philanthropic career. Now look at on the daddy side. You have 1944 enlisted in the U.S. Army. 1950 got a law degree. 1957 to 65 social control company board, board. I don't know what that stands for, but see again, social control. That's a pretty interesting name. And then the board of directors, Seattle Planned Parenthood. If you look over slightly next to it, from 1971 to 1974, board planned. I guess he was on the board for Planned Parenthood Federation of America. So these people were all connected. So the Shockley, because they are also the architects of Silicon Valley. So, you know, you got to know the players. Let's see how these foundations operate out here. So when they tell black folks, vote, 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 these people know how to donate. So they can just sway anything because they can give them donations. So these foundations, which are basically organizations to mask political control. And so you get you a big foundation like this. All of these different people, these are all rich families. You got Kellogg, Hewlett, and then also Packard. So Hewlett and Packard separately. Wow. Oh, grand evening. FBA got us in the house. How you doing? Let's see. Well, let's see. Andrew W. Mellon Foundation. I don't even know who that is, but I'm sure that, I mean, look at all that money. But the Ford Foundation is right under the Bill and Melinda Gates. That's a lot of money moving around there. Can buy you a lot of influence. Corporate charities. The nation found close to $2 billion in tax-deductible charitable donations from the Gates Foundation, for-profit businesses, including companies in which the foundation held investments, such as GlaxoSmithKline. The top 10 corporate recipients took home more than $500 million. Let's look at those corporations. Just look at those names. Just look at those names. Novavax Inc. That's a lot of money. 89 million? $89 million. GlaxoSmithKline, Biologicals, Evotech. All of these people subsequently have one thing in common. They literally have a medical biotech thing going on. How about that? How about that? Janssen Vaccines. I mean, these are literally vaccination corporations. And this is where this money is going? Lord. Any familiar Familiar names in this list here. You got Pfizer right up the top. Novartis, Roche. That's Merck. Johnson & Johnson. GlaxoSmithKline. Go right back to them players. So if you wanted to solidify control, if you wanted to solidify your control, then you would go gather those powerful entities in different places. I mean, it doesn't get much, picture can't get much clearer. So from the video that I played before, oops, oh wow, how did that get there? Look at that. Let's see what and you know, these are things that have a lot of these things that have been suspect. I can't say anything. All of these are true for certain, but we do know that he does control Act Blue. So that would take care of the Black Lives Matter part of that. Let's see. You got NPR. You got National Immigration Forum. That seems to be working just fine. America Votes. Media Matters for America. Media Fund. Planned Parenthood is right there. And the Associated Press, Clinton Foundation, MoveOn.org, the ACLU, Malcolm X Grassroots Movement. Remember when I did the broadcast on COINTELPRO Grassroots? You know, that's one of those things where I would definitely say you got to make sure you vet everybody. Because, you know, they got Black Lives Matter up there. You got, you know, heavy donor of all the DNC candidates. Facebook trolls. I would beg to say that's probably Facebook and Twitter. Washington Post. Center for Reasons. CNN. And y'all know, Anderson Cooper is Gloria Vanderbilt's son. So he's a Rothschild, if you didn't know. Sitting there, got you, I mean, right up under your face, right up under your nose, letting you know who they is. So just wanted to make sure that I gave you that little tasty tidbit of information. It's crazy when you follow the money, ain't it? It's crazy when you follow the money. And with that being said, let me show you. I'm sure y'all seen this, but this is just so hilarious. Now, if I remember correctly, when Kamala Harris was talking about how she was raised, she said that her mother raised her in her Indian heritage, right?
The act of getting vaccinated is the very essence of what the Bible tells us when it says, love thy neighbor. Right? Because what we know is, one can ask, well, who is one's neighbor? Is it the person who lives to my left, lives to my right? I know them, may borrow a cup of sugar, right? But what we know it means when we talk about love thy neighbor is that, yes, it may be the person next door, and it may be the man on the side of the road, and it may be a perfect stranger. And in the face of that stranger, you see a friend. That's what this is about. And so by getting vaccinated, you are loving your neighbor.
She took the quote way out of context. And I mean, again, because she doesn't have any relation or ties to that Bible. I don't even know what made her do that. Because the culture to which she is already admitted growing up in has nothing to do with reading the Bible on a frequent basis at all. So I mean, that is just stranger danger. Oh Lord. Oh man. Um. So I hope I was able to kind of. I wanted to make sure that things from the past can tie into today. And show you why they're tying in, because some of those old players never left the playing field. They just graduated to the owner's box. So they have new people on the ground doing their dirty work today. And that system regenerates and regenerates and regenerates because it works. Money can make people do a lot of things. So with that being said, hope that this was able to kind of give you some clarity. If you wonder why people are pushing certain things on you, it's about control. And these people invested; they got billions of dollars out there on it, so they got skin in the game to convince you. If you hear it on the news, they're talking about convince and hesitation and convince, and how do we convince, and all this hesitation, misinformation. Well, I can honestly say I am not misinformed about who the devil is. So if you want to know why I don't trust that, well, why would I? You ain't got to sit up here and blame nobody for your own history. Look to yourselves of why don't nobody want that from you. Don't look to us. Well, it's that. No, we're not Trump followers over here. So if you want to do it like they do it, which I don't subscribe to that crap neither. Not one person influences a mass of anyone. Stop it. If that was true, you wouldn't have to spend so much money in all of these other places to control the conversation. But look at what the new black media is getting done without all of that. And to whoever the brain dead dude was out there, or whoever, I don't even know if it was a dude or woman, who thinks that somebody or some big entity is behind what we're doing, you are out of your mind. No, player. So don't ever start listening to people talking that stupid shit. Because, that's just the dissension talk. And that's well, let me just throw them under the bus so none of us have to be responsible for ourselves type talk. So we're not subscribing to that. We are going to take control of our own destiny as it is meant to be. If that's too much for you, then stay with them. That's about all I can say. But they've shown you long their plans for you. So if you can't understand what I just showed you, they got money on it. They definitely got money on it. So they have a solid investment to protect, to make sure you get, you go pay a visit to the snake oil salesman. So with that being said, and how Queen Amadai say, get that venom. That's so funny. When she says that venom, it makes me think of a TV show when I was a kid called Mask. That was Mask was the good guys and Venom was their enemy. Boy, oh boy, you take both of that sides, you got two wings of the same bird. Mask and Venom. With that being said, Babylon is falling. Babylon is falling. Let it fall and let us rise. Once again, this has been the Beatzilla PDX official show. I am Beatzilla PDX official. And you can follow me on Instagram, beatzillapdx. You can follow me at Twitter, beatzillapdx, and also on Melanated People at Michael Beatzilla Whitmore. And I'm not really there so much because Facebook be messing with my stuff, but you can get there also at Beatzilla PDX on Facebook, and also Beatzilla PDX official on Patreon. because I want to do some more of these type some more of this content, but I just can't do it on this platform. We already know why. So with that being said, I'm going ahead and get on out of here. If you have any questions, show topics, you can email me at ourrealtruth@gmail.com. That's ourrealtruth@gmail.com. And if you feel so inclined to put some money on it, put some money in the bucket, and donate to this program and donate to this platform, you are definitely able to do that. And all donations are welcome and appreciated. Much love to you in advance. That's CashApp, $beatzillapdx. CashApp, $beatzillapdx. And with that being said, y'all, you know how we do with that stone of truth. Till next time, shalom, y'all.
When you know who Satan is,
Yes, sir.
you don't have to kill him. No. The stone of truth.
Yes.
See, that's what you throw.
Yes, right, right.
Allah says, had we wished to take a pastime from before, surely we would have done it. Nay, we cast truth at falsehood till we knock out its brains. Every one of you that knows the truth, stand up and tell it from the mountaintop. Black people can't take it no more. So wherever you are on the job, in the factory, I don't care where you are. If you know the truth, stand up on the truth and tell Satan, who the hell are you to try and pick my friends? Farrakhan is God's man, and you are from the enemy of God. So to hell with you. Stand up on it like a man.